Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning. Welcome back to session 2. So, I hope I'm audible to everyone. Can just one of you reply back to me saying whether I'm audible or not? Oh, thank you, High Tech College. So, let's get started with session 2. Yeah, thank you, Sri Chaitanya and VNR. Yeah. If anybody has a problem, just type in. Otherwise, okay, this is Rakesh. Then I'll get started with porting CT to Java, data types and operators. I know all of you have already worked on computational thinking. Yeah, let's have a look at what have we learned so far. Computational thinking, I'm sure all of you worked on Raptor and then data types, operators, loops, arrays, strings, functions, recursion. Raptor. And then you already heard Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming by Professor Venkatesh Chopilla today morning. I'm sure all of you wanted to get started with OOPS concepts like polymorphism, classes, objects and all the things. But you need to wait for another day before you get started with objects and all main object-oriented concepts. So today we'll go through a programming in Java which is basic, which doesn't deal with object-oriented concepts. So it's very basic. Tomorrow you will be introduced to object-oriented concepts one by one, and then you can work on them. So today you'll get so many questions: why are we using these lines, and why are we using these lines? So some will be clarified in tomorrow's session. In any case, you can ask all your questions whenever you get any. I'm sure you know the process. You can type down your question in the question tab, or you can raise your hand and ask your question. Okay, shall we get started? Yeah, that's fine. I'm sure so these are the learning objectives. By the end of the session, will help you to understand the concepts of data and operators in Java, and also will help you start coding in Java, and then perform simple and complex operations using data types, variables and operators. So that is what we work on till this afternoon. That means in the next session, and then afternoon we have other things to work with. So this is the prerequisite. Is Java installed on all your computers? Great. Anybody don't have Java on your computer? And if you don't have Java on your computer, just reply back saying no. Alright, I see all yes. Okay. Anybody with no as an answer? I don't see any no, so that's great. That's a great start. So let's get on with the session. Yeah, here we are. Let's see one Java program first before moving on to something else. So let's have a look at one Java program. I'll share my screen so that I can show you one program. Is Hello World. Yeah, what you can see on screen is very basic and then first program in Java. So this is the program part where you declare a class saying public class hello world example. So the terms and conditions for giving the class names and other things will be shared by our colleagues tomorrow. In any case, I'll tell you the class name should start with the capital letters, and the name should be appropriate to the program you are working on, and then the class name and the file name you are saving needs to be same. that's an important point to be noted. And then there is a main function. You might have seen in C language, if you have worked on it earlier, that whenever a program compiler works on a program, it goes to the main block first. So we need to have a main in the program. We have public static void main, where public is access specifier, then void specifies there is no return value. So more things will be discussed once you are introduced to methods and then objects. So right now you can consider that your program needs to have a class, public class, and then class name. You need to follow proper indentation. You can see a tab in next line. So indentation needs to be followed. And then you need to have comments written like this. If you have multiple lines of comments, you can write like this: /* followed by some lines of comments explaining the program, and then close it using star and hash. Correction, it's /. So if it's a one line comment, you can use /. So this is the program where I just gave the print command saying system.out.println within the brackets hello world. So I'm just printing a static value. I'm not using any variables, or I'm not using any data. I'm just printing a normal line. So let's have a look at the output. So we need to compile the program first to check whether it's working or not. To compile, we need to give javac program name.java, and then to execute we need to give java space program name. So it prints hello world. So that this is our first program, hello world. So I'm sure this gives you a basic information how to start writing a Java program if you don't know it already. So as I mentioned, it's important to write down comments, otherwise it's tough to understand the programs by others. So just practice writing comments. So moving to next parts, introduction for this session is, as I said, we'll work with data types, variables and objects. Whenever we work on some programs, we work with some data, we do manipulations, we do get some inputs and then output. It's more about getting some inputs and then working on it and then giving outputs. So programs deal with data. So data will have some type, right? Like characters or integers, numbers. So the type of data is called data types. We'll see more into it. What are the data types available and how can we take those things we can see. And then the next term will be introduced in this one is variables. So just now I told you what is data type, but it's just only it gives only the data type, not the name. So variable is something, and then we work with operators. Which are nothing but special characters which are very familiar with, like plus, minus, equals to these symbols, so which perform operations on the variables. So we have data types, we have data, and then we have a name to it, that is variable. So now we need to work on it. So for that thing we'll use operators. So these are nothing but special characters which perform operations on variables. So there are two types of data types, primitives and non-primitives. Non-primitives are also called reference data types. So those things will come in tomorrow's session 1. So right now we'll have a look at primitive data types. Some of them are byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean and char. All of this have some limitations in terms of the maximum and minimum limit, and in terms of the bits allowed by this particular data type. For example, byte is a 8-bit 2's complement data type, which has a range of 128 minus 128 to 127. So all the data types will have some minimum and maximum value. So depending on the requirement of the program, we need to use data types. Short is a 16-bit data type, so it will allow the range depending on 16-bit. So int is a 32-bit, and then long is 64-bit data type. Float will allow you to give decimal points. It's a 32-bit data type where you can give single precision decimal value. So for double, you can give multiple precision values. It is double precision value. So Boolean will have a value called true or false. When you have something like 1 or 0 or true or false, you can use Boolean. Char will be used for giving characters like alphabets or some values which are probably not numbers. So you can declare special symbols also in characters. So these are the basic primitive data types. And then variables. Variables are nothing but the names of data types, and there are two steps when we use variables. We need to declare. That declaring is nothing but providing the name of the variable. So for example, you can see here example int age. So here int is the data type, and then age is a variable name. And then the next step is to initialize the value, like assigning value to the variable. If I want to give age as 20, so variable name is age, and then I'm giving value as 20. Initializing is just a starting value of the variable. We can always keep changing the value of the variable. We can do manipulations, and we can assign new values to it. So let's have a look at one example where we'll read an integer and then print it using long. If you remember, there are various types of data types. So we are trying to deal with integer and long. Integer is a 32-bit data type, and long is 64-bit data type. So let's look at the example. VNR and high-tech saying that it's weak signal. Do other colleges also have same problem? No, it's working. It's working fine, right? Okay, that's great. So VNR and high-tech, we are working on this issue. Our system admin will be working on that one. We'll ensure you receive a good signal. So okay, if it's a problem with your bandwidth, use only audio only mode. I mean, sometimes the video causes problem, so you can use audio only mode. That will solve the problem for time being. Once the bandwidth is proper, you can again come back to video mode. Please try that one, and yeah, please use audio only mode. So we'll move on to the example. So here is first example. You can see the program name as example. As I mentioned, the class names has to be related to the task we are performing in the program. Just for the comfort of all of you, I have named it as example 1. So, and also the file name is also example 1. We'll do share all these programs to you for future use, but then when you write programs on your own, don't give names as example or You need to name them as per the functionality of the program. So we have a class and then we have a main where we are taking a number called integer type number with a value of 2147, and then I'm declaring another value called long val. So val is the variable name and long is the data type. So I haven't assigned any value to it yet. I'm going to print the number which is in data type using system.out.println. You can see that in this line, and then I'm printing a blank line with dots. After that I'm assigning number value to val. To the variable name val, which is of data type long, I'm assigning value which is of int type. So let's see what happens, and then I'm printing the value in the variable val. So we need to compile the program and then execute it. So the first one is integer, the number is 2147. The second time we are printing it using the long variable. So what we have done is we initialized a value to int variable and then passed on that value into long and then printed that one. So it's printing without any issue. So you can see the number is printed 2 times, and first one is int value and second one is long value. So let's look at another example where we need to take value using long data type and then assign that to int variable. So what we did in the previous program is like we took int value and then stored that in a long value. Here we are trying to do the reverse. So it's the same program as a class and then main, and then I took long number, there is a number, I can take a small number also, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so I have saved it as 1 2 3 4, and then I have declared another variable of data type int. So I'm trying to print the long value first. Okay, we are having look at another example where we took a value called number which is of long data type and we have assigned 1 2 3 4 as value, and then we have declared another variable named val which is of int data type. So first we are printing the long value, that is number, and then we are assigning the long value into integer variable. So here val is integer variable and we are trying to assign some long value which is 1 3 4 and then print it. So let's try to compile this program and see how it works. So it throws an error saying that possible loss of precision, found long, required int, so val equals to number. So when val is trying to get a value from the variable called number which is of long type, it is throwing the error called possible loss of precision. So when we try to deal with various data types, this is one possible problem. So let's see why it's happening. So that is called typecasting. Normally higher data type values can take lower data types values, which is what we did in example 1. Long was higher data type and then int was lower data type. So when we try to assign value into long using int, it worked, but when we tried in reverse, it did not. So converting a higher data type value to a lower data type value is referred to as typecasting. So there is something called typecasting because we have so many types of data types. We need to work with all of them, or at least some of them, in various programs. So what we need to do is typecast are needed. So when we need to assign higher data type value into lower data type, we need to do typecasting. So how do we do that? We'll see in next slides. Uh, let's go back to the program we have seen just now, the example2.java. So this is the program we got error with. So val equals to number is not working. We are getting an error there. So what I am trying to do is, yeah, I'm showing you the program which threw an error earlier. It's the same example2 program. So when we try to assign number value to val, it throwed an error. So what I need to do is convert number into integer before assigning that value into int. So what I'm doing is int of number. So that will convert the value into integer, because we have val, a variable which is of integer data type. So this is called typecasting. I mean, there are many other ways of doing typecasting. So this is a very basic example. So val equals to int of number. So let's execute or compile and execute the program. I'm still working on example 2. So there is no problem with compilation. When I try to execute, the initial one is, the number is 1 2 3 4. The line 1 is long value, and then the second one is integer value. So that is how it works. When we need to assign higher data type value into lower data type, we need to do typecasting. So with that, I'll give you one workout. So you can start writing a Java program and then take float value as an input and then print it using int variable. So like we did for long and int, try taking a float input and then print it using int. So I'll wait for 10 minutes so that you can work on this program, and do let me know if you have any issues. As I mentioned earlier, you can type your questions in question tab, or you can raise your hand and ask questions. Because we are in the very beginning of Java, I recommend just start writing. I'm sure you'll get so many issues and doubts. Then we can start working on resolving them. Start practicing in next 5 to 10 minutes on the program I have specified just now, and then we'll meet back and we'll proceed with next concepts. So this is time for workout. I can see somebody already asking some questions, so I'll let everybody writing this program. I'll wait for another 5 minutes, and then we can look into all the questions asked by participants. questions here. Some of them say possible loss of precision, and then typecasting is required to solve this error. Yes, surely typecasting is required because we are dealing with both float and int. And you also know how to convert int, but I believe you are still getting this possible loss of precision error. So let's see how to work on this one. Gudla Valeru says we completed the task. Okay, that's great. Any other questions? Okay, what is static in public static void main? Okay, that's an important question. So static is a it's a method of a class. Usually, I mean, tomorrow you'll be introduced to classes and then objects. Whenever you need to use methods of classes, you will need to create an instance of it. So otherwise, you cannot access. But then static allows you to do that. So I mean, in correction, I mean, static is a method which is associated with the class, but you can use it without actually create an instance of it. So I know some new terms are coming up if you don't know with object concepts already. So this will be clarified in tomorrow's session 1 because these are associated with classes and then methods and then how to create an instance and all these things. Just consider that static is a method which is associated with a class and we can still use it without creating an instance of it. So yeah, even PVP says they have completed the task. So let's have a look at the solution. I mean, this is the only workout for which I'm going to provide the solution. Otherwise, for all other programs, you are expected to work on your own. You'll get enough resources to do that. So let me go back to my previous example where I tried to convert from long to int. So I'm doing the desktop sharing. So this is where I try to give some value to long and then try to store that in integer. So let's try that with float. As I mentioned, this will take single precision value. So I gave a float value and then I took another integer value. I stored val equals to int of number and then let me execute the program. Yeah, variable name is required. We specified it as number, so let's take number. So there is no problem with compilation. Let me execute the program. So the initial one is a float, so it shows as the number is 1.2. After printing it, we are converting that into integer. Integer will not take any precision value. So when we have converted a float value into integer, it is converted as 1. So when I display the int value, it is showing only 1. So we did the typecasting here. So when we converted the float value into integer, it did lose the decimal points. So I'm sure you have seen that in C language also. For the people who got an error are probably because you didn't put f after the value of float. So you can see that. So if I remove this one, I get an error saying that possible loss of precision. So this is something for you to explore. So why is it giving error if I don't f after the value of a float number? So this is for your work after the session. Okay, but I hope this will solve the errors faced by you. So let's move on to another concept called operators. So we have seen data types, we know what are variables. The next thing is to perform some operations. So why do we need operators? In the introduction slide I told you that operators are nothing but special characters which will help you do some manipulations to variables like plus, minus, equals to. So there are various types of operators in Java. Those are assignment, arithmetic, logical, relational, unary, ternary and shift. So we'll have a look at each and every operator one by one. So the first one is assignment operators. The most common of the operators is equals to, which will be useful to assign some value. We have already used this operator in our previous two examples. So some examples are int, which is the data type, height is variable, equals to 1. Here equals to is operator, so which is helping us to assign a value to a variable. So char gender equals to m. So when we assign character values, we need to put that in single quotes. If we assign strings, we need to put that in double quotes. For integers we can leave as it is, but for characters we need to give in a single quote. A character data type will only take single character, and then if it's a string, the syntax is same: string space string name equals to the name of the string in double quotes. And then arithmetic operators, we have addition, which is plus symbol, subtraction, which is minus symbol, multiplication and division, and then modulus operator, which will help you to return the remainder of division of two numbers. If I am working on 10 percentile 3 or 10 modulus 3, the result is 1 because 3 times 3 is 9 and the remainder is 1. So percentile will be useful to get the remainder. And then all these plus, minus, multiplication, division and then modulus are basic arithmetic operations. And there is a combination of arithmetic and assignment. You know assignment and you know arithmetic. You have seen that in previous slides. So here a statement says a plus equals to 2. It has both arithmetic and assignment. It actually means a equals to a plus 2. When I say a divided by equals to 2, that means a equals to a by 2. So you can use a combination of arithmetic and assignment operators. You will see that in so many programs. And then unary operators. I'll show you examples of all these operators once we look at some basic operators, and then we can work on a couple of programs and we can work on a workout. So unary operators. Plus is a unary plus operator which indicates positive value. That means by default if you don't give anything, it still takes it as a positive value. Numbers are positive even without this. So if you leave it normal, and then it will be considered as positive. If you put negative in your value, then that becomes unary minus value, negates the expression. If I have 10, if I put minus in front of it, this is just like the basic mathematics. So if I put minus in front of the number, that becomes negative. So these are unary operators. And then we have double plus, which is an increment operator. It increments a value by 1. So when I put double plus after a number, that actually increments the value by 1, and then 2 minus symbols will actually decrement the value by 1. And then uh, logical complement operator, which is the exclamatory symbol, inverts the value of a boolean. You know the boolean, right? We have seen in data types what is a boolean: true and false. If we put an exclamatory mark or logical complement operator in front of it, that will invert the value of that boolean. So in the previous slide we have seen increment and decrement, which will be done using double plus or double minus symbol. So you can use that as a postfix or prefix to a variable. Like you can see in this example, there is a plus plus a and a plus plus. So what is the difference between these two? The postfix and prefix operations are very important in all the programming languages. So if you have done C language, you have already seen this, so I'll just repeat this for your convenience. So both statements will actually result in a value of a being incremented by 1, but the difference is that prefix version evaluates the incremented value while the postfix version evaluates the original value. So for example, if I am assigning a value of these prefix and postfix to another variable called b, so in case 1, what will, if my a value is 1, if I give plus plus a equals to b or b equals to plus plus a, b will take value as 2 because the a value will be incremented first and then that will be assigned to b. But in case if I write b equals to a plus plus, if a value is 1, b will be assigned value of 1 and then a value will be incremented to 2. So that's a difference between prefix and postfix. In prefix, the value of the variable will be changed first and then assigned to other variable, but in postfix, the original value of the variable will be evaluated and then that will get incremented. So let's have a look at an integer value and print its prefix and postfix values. So we have a very simple program where I'm taking I'm taking integer value int I equals to 10, and then I'm printing I plus plus first followed by 2 colons and then plus plus I. That means postfix first and prefix next. So let's execute the program and see what is the value it is giving. So the initial value is 10 because, as I mentioned, in postfix the basic value of the variable will be displayed, so that is 10. After that the value will be incremented, so that will go to 11, and then next time we are actually printing prefix, so that means the value will be incremented first and then displayed. So 10 and 12. So yeah, time for another small workout. So you are supposed to find out the area of a circle. You have to read the radius from user and print the area. So you know the formula for area of circle. Area of circle equals to pi into radius square. So where pi value is 22 by 7, which is a constant. So how to declare a constant is another thing. So right now you can just give a value. So 22 by 7 or 3.14, and then we want output like enter radius of the circle. Once we enter the radius, the area has to be displayed. You can see there are so many decimal values in the area, so you know what is the relevant data type for that one. So we want the decimal values of area also. So use appropriate data type and then perform this operation by r square and then print the area of the circle. So it says 15 minutes, but I believe it's small enough to be finished in 10 minutes. So we'll meet back in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can still type in questions tab. Okay, what are the different command line arguments are used in main function in Java is being asked by Sri Chaitanya. Educational institutions. Yes, we'll clarify that question also. So please work on the program. We'll come back to that question. And there is another question from Nick College about uploading the files, and then yeah, I'm sure Bharat already worked with you. So if you still face that problem, do let us know. Okay, welcome back everyone. So is it done? Can you tell me whether you got the output or not? If you have trouble getting command line input for the radius of circle, you can try out with a static value. You can just assign some value to radius and then get the area of the circle. Okay, VNR is completed. What about other colleges? MIC, PVP, Sri Chaitanya. Is it done? Okay, MIC is done. What about PVP and Sri Chaitanya? I don't see any response from PVP and Sri Chaitanya. Do we have somebody there to respond? PVP and Sri Chaitanya. Okay, PVP is done. What about Sri Chaitanya? All right, great. So everybody got the program. That's nice. So let's move on to next slides. So we have seen some operators till now. So let's move on to some other operators equality and relational operators. So you know what is the meaning of single equals to, which will be used for assigning values to variables. So what is double equals to? That is used for comparing values. If we want to compare whether a equals to b or not, we use a double equals to b. So, and then this is, next one is not equals to, greater than or equals to, less than and less than or equals to. So all these are relational and equality operators which will be used to compare two variables or compare two values. Usually we use them in if conditions or for loops, which will be introduced to you in afternoon session. Conditional operators, you know, and or operators, right? So ampersand is and operator, and then pipe symbol is or. So these are conditional and conditional or operators. You know, these logical gates and how the values comes for this one. You can ask if you have any issues with that. So this is an illustration. If a value is 1, b value is 2, we are checking for an AND, conditional AND, where we are checking whether a equals to 1. As I mentioned, double equals to mean we are comparing the value on both sides of the operator. So we are checking whether a equals to 1 or not, and we are checking b equals to 1 or not. So a equals to 1 it's true, b equals to 1 it's false, as you know, as per the AND logical gate. So 1 and 0 or true and false will be false, so the result will be false. So when we try the same with OR operator, a equals to 1 true, b equals to 1 false, so R will be true if one of them is true. So because the first one is true, the result will be true. So there is something called ternary operator. It's used in or shorthand for if then else statement. You can see the syntax: condition question mark value 1 colon value 2. So this is a syntax. So it checks if condition is true, value 1 will be assigned to it. If it's false, value 2 will be assigned to it. You can see there is an equals to symbol, and then there is a variable on left hand side. So result equals to condition question mark value 1 colon value 2. So value 1 will be assigned to result if the condition is true, otherwise value 2 will be assigned. So this is called ternary operator. So here is an example: value 1 equals to 2, value 2 equals to 10, and a value is 5. So result equals to, you can see this line, result equals to a greater than 5. What we are doing is we are checking a is greater than 5 or not. In this case it is false, so value 2 will be assigned to result, so result will become 10. If I have specified the condition as a greater than 3, then the condition becomes true, and then value 1, which is 2, will be stored in result. So I believe it's clear for you. So how this operator is working. So what we are doing is we are trying to assign a value to a variable using a condition. If the condition is true, the first value will be assigned. If the condition is false, the second value will be assigned. So this is another workout where because you know all the variables, operators, and then data types. So this task you can finish before going for lunch. So what we want you to do is take two inputs, two integer inputs, a and b, and then print multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. So you can see the output here. If the value of a is 5 and value of b is 2, or you can take command line or values also. The program needs to print the multiplication, division, then addition, subtraction, and also the modulus of the a modulus b. So please work on this program before you go for lunch, and then you can let me know if you have any questions at this point. You can raise your hand or type in question tab. The afternoon session will be on conditions and then control statements, which will cover if condition, then switch cases, followed by loops. You get to use more operators in those sessions. So do you have any questions right now? Please do ask your questions. Please work on the program, and you can ask the questions if you get anything in between. And once you're done with the workout, you can break for lunch, and then the post lunch session will start at 2 p.m. So 1 to 2 is lunch break, as you already know. We'll be here to help you if you have any questions while you work on the program specified on the screen. So keep working on it. If you have any questions, do ask us through questions tab or by raising the hand. Okay, PVP says they already got this program. Very nice. What about others? And if you find it too easy, then I can give you another workout too. So PVP people did it using data input stream. Nice. What about others? We haven't discussed about input streams yet because it has something to do with methods and then objects. So I'm trying to keep myself away from these concepts for time being, because OOPS will be introduced to you tomorrow, and if you're comfortable using them, you can still use them.